Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the CXPA CX Hangout. Today's topic is going to be CX strategy and more specifically linking your CX strategy to corporate strategy. So today we're joined by our CX experts. We have 4 great members for you today who are going to discuss this topic of linking CX strategy to corporate strategy from their various perspectives. And so to get the Hangout started, what I want to do is let them all introduce themselves to you. We're just going to go down the line, and once we're complete with introductions, I'm going to ask an initial question, and then we're going to let the experts have a discussion. So Erich, would you start with introductions?
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. My name again, Erich Dietz. I'm with InMoment, and my title is Vice President of Business Solutions.
How about Jim, and then Mike, and then Tabitha?
Hello, this is Jim Rembach. I am with Customer Relationship Metrics and Beyond Morale, depending on if you're looking at the customer engagement piece or the employee engagement piece. Thanks for letting me be here.
Yeah, and so I'm Mike Kanazawa. I'm a partner with Ernst & Young, and in our Strat and Innovation Digital practice. I guess to be clear on that, we run an organization, was a solar company at Ernst & Young in February called Bedrock Consultants, and it was a business school, design school, and that focused on.
Okay, so that was slightly choppy. We apologize for that. I think when we speak quickly, it starts to have bandwidth issues. So I'm going to try to speak slowly for all. Tabitha, and yourself?
I am Tabitha Dunn. I'm the Managing Director at Citrix for the Customer Insights team. And happy Friday to everyone. I'm glad for those of you who are able to join us.
Yeah, thank you so much. For this first question, what I want to do is ask you, Tabitha, to get us started. And from the highest levels, when we as CX practitioners start to think about ensuring that our CX strategy is aligned with the corporate strategy, what are some initial items that we need to ensure are in place to make certain that we're linked to the corporate strategy?
Yeah, I think that it's absolutely critical that the customer is a core part of the strategy. And usually when I'm starting out with a customer experience practice, I like to look at what the strategy currently is and better understand where they currently have the customer woven into that. So sometimes you'll see when they have an architecture of their strategy, there'll be a section that specifically addresses the customer, and that tends to be sort of that customer leg of the strategy. But in many cases, you'll find they don't really explicitly call it out. They might use metrics and so forth, and that then becomes the effort to say you should explicitly call out your customer as well as your marketplace and be able to really better understand not just your future potential customers and your marketplace opportunity, but also make sure that the customers and customer retention is a core part of that strategy. So that's where I like to start.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. It's often taken for granted that we're going to include customers into this strategy. So by explicitly articulating that, I think it just clarifies to all of the audiences and the strategy groups that we're thinking along that same customer line. Michael, is there any addition you could give to that, or any tangent you want to walk off from that?
Sure, and how's the audio on this side too? You said it was choppy before. Is it okay now?
Yeah, it's sounding better. We'll let you know if it gets choppy, okay?
All right, sounds good. Yeah, sometimes the definition of what people mean by customer experience gets things boxed into the tactical. And so I think one of the things, bridging off of what Tabitha said, we really believe it's important to look at the life of the customer, to think about the customer influencing the design of products, the design of retail experiences, the design of the way you interact with your customers. And so often, I think even sometimes as CX professionals, to get a little bit of a bite as a beginning project, we'll latch on to something like maybe just NPS as a metric, or maybe something like improving the customer service center and the metrics there. And I think so part of the job I think we have expand on what we really mean by customer experience. And one of the frames we use is calling it life of the customer, and not really just customer experience, and then letting that drive the strategic decisions of the business.
I think that's good insight to think broadly and not get bogged down in a single metric, which might spark some, oh, I've heard that before. So those are two great places to start. Jim, I want to hand it to you now, and I know that you're an emotional intelligence practitioner, and could you put some thoughts around the people we work with and how to lay that into our thinking?
I do a lot of work as a coach, as well as through workshops and doing different types of analytics. And there's one acronym that I want to kind of point out that becomes a major focus in a lot of ways. And I don't have a lot of time to go over every single piece of it, but I want to start with the first one, and that's the S. When we start looking at strategy, connection, and transformation and things like that, it's very simple and easy for us to get bought and caught up in the fact that we need to change, transform, do things differently, and the S in that acronym does not stand for suck. It actually stands for strength. And unfortunately, we get caught in the case to where we're looking at so many things that we need to modify and need to change that a lot of the people who are trying to get on board and help us really lift things and move things forward start getting the feeling that we're terrible. And that's not the things that actually motivate us. The things that motivate us are the things that we feel like we're good at, and so we really need to hone in on those strengths and use that to lift us up and move things forward. So when you start looking at strategy, connection, and all of the things that we're really talking about, with making that connection and building the group, focus on strengths. That's the best place for you to look first.
Yeah, I think that's really great advice, and I'm interested to know what the O, the A, and the R stand for now. So hopefully we've got some more time to get back to that. I wanted to now pose a question to Erich with regard to, so we've got some great insights on how to frame our conversation around strategy, how to use our strengths to make these broader arguments. But strategy lives in the C-suite. If you can't convince your C-suite that it's important and that it is in fact linked, then you're essentially dead in the water. So Erich, could you give us some insight into how to communicate with the C-suite? And moreover, what if the C-suite is reluctant to even get the conversation started?
Yeah, and it's funny. I honestly wish I could say there was a silver bullet, but the simple fact of the matter is there's some C-suites, you're not going to turn their hearts. What's the old Irish proverb? It's, may those who love us, and for those that don't love us, may God try to turn their hearts, and if he can't turn their hearts, maybe turn their ankles so we can see them coming by their limp. And, the bottom line, there are certain C-suites that, I hate to say it, you may never, because they don't get the customer. Now that aside, I think there are a tremendous amount of progressive organizations that do understand that the customer needs to play a role, but they're not really sure how to truly bake CX into their strategy. And I think communicating with the C-suite, I hate to say this, and I wouldn't want to offend anybody, but you got to communicate in crayon, but it's got to be relevant crayon. Very simple, compelling reasons of, okay, this is why it matters to the business that you need to actually give a crap about what the customer thinks, what they're experiencing with our products and services, so you can clearly articulate the cost of inaction. What if we don't factor in the customer into our strategy, this is what's going to cost us. A lot of times we see businesses where the compelling event is, hey, we just lost a big client, a big customer, or we're getting our ass handed to us by one of our competitors. Okay, that's a compelling reason that customer experience strategy should drive the corporate strategy, because the customer is what's going to lead you to how to fix it. So, once again, I wish I could say there was a silver bullet for it, but at the end of the day, it's about being relevant, and it's about being clear on the cost of inaction by not, incorporating customer strategy or CX strategy into the broader corporate strategy.
So I think those are all really great points, and I don't think anyone's offended by the idea of having to communicate in crayon. I communicate in PowerPoint all day long. I think crayon would be kind of fun. But you know, you referenced using competitive arguments, right? The competition is doing it, and we're losing customers. So let's get our CX strategy ingrained in the corporate strategy. Michael, you had said a couple starting points as well. You said, you know, NPS is something that we'll look at, or the call centers is a place to start. Can we take a step deeper into some of the starting points that make those strong arguments to the C-suite, right? We want to communicate the value of customer focus and customer centricity, but you do need something to grab onto. So competitive arguments are wonderful. Mike, is there anything additional you could add around some of those other thoughts you were positing?
Sure. Yeah, I think it maybe bridges off of this. One of the things that we feel like is, you know, whether it's PowerPoint or making, you know, numerical arguments on metrics and things, there's nothing like putting the executive team into the experience of the customers, experiencing their own environment and their products and services, and also inviting in to use the competitors' products and services. So we do some interesting things. We've put GoPro cameras on analysts' heads and had them walk through an airport, go rent a car, and then, you know, go through the whole experience, and then ask an executive team to sit through and watch it. And it can be sometimes startling and sometimes painful, you know, to do that. Or work with a mobile carrier, and we said, why don't you go buy phones from each of the competitors and go try to light it up and see how long it takes you, see how easy it is, see how hard it is, and compare it. And I think those visceral experiences, because we're talking customer experience, so let's give people the experience that they're actually delivering to their customers. And then I think once you do that, it really brings the concept up into light that, look, we're the executive team. We need to do something about this, either as it relates to the customer experience or some things that, as Jim said, that we think we could do that would really delight the customer that we're just not executing on.
Nice. So that's really great. You know, those visceral, real, immersive experiences, I don't think there's anything that can, you know, no presentation in a whiteboard room is gonna speak louder than that experience. Tabitha, can we pick your brain? Tabitha, can we pick your brain for a second about some of this low-hanging fruit and some great ways to engage the strategy audience, be them executives or an entire business unit that needs to be convinced?
I like figuring out what are the pain points they're currently experiencing where they feel like they can't get traction. And if that's really something that's relatable to the customer ecosystem and that experience, there's often ways that I can help them and engage with them, and therefore it becomes something that it's a collaborative effort. It's not me telling them something that, you know, oh, you need to go do this. It's us working together to be able to figure out what the right path forward is and help them move the needle on things that really matter to them. It often comes out that they're like, well, this is really a problem for us. Or this is why I really don't like our customer experience approach. Or, yeah, the customer's part of our strategy. Doing root cause discussions and really saying, well, that's interesting. Tell me more about that. Tell me why that's an issue or why you feel that way. Gets you to figure out what really at its root is that resistance, and then you can utilize that to then say, this is what I'll do to be able to pull you along with me so we can do this together, as opposed to trying to knock them down in their objections. So that tends to be my approach. I tend to be very collaborative.
You know, I think that is age-old wisdom. You know, I certainly live by the motto, people don't support what they don't help create. So getting all the way down to the root of formation at the beginning is I think, a good point that you've made. We're getting close to our time, and maybe this is my own selfish desires, but Jim, I really want to know what the other letters of that acronym mean. Could you wrap us out and walk us out, maybe walking through those letters? Would you do that?
Well, you know, I would, but I'm actually going to refrain from doing that, because as I listen to everybody speak, there's things that stood out that are really fit into skills that each CX professional really needs to develop. So I'll reserve the rest of the acronym for another time, because I want to talk about 6 very important attributes that everybody who's in CX, everybody who's trying to sell services to people in CX and products, should really try to improve their skills in these 6 attributes. and there are 6 of the 54 that are associated with just improving your overall and emotional intelligence. And that is your collaboration skills, your group savvy skills, your ability to influence others, your perspective-taking skills, your situational awareness skills, and your understanding other skills. If you go back and listen to this Google Hangout and all the things that people were saying, you're going to find those 6 attributes in the things that we were saying. Because the reality is that some people will be motivated by pain points, and other people will see them as a pain in the rear. So you have to be able to understand the situation, the folks, the group dynamics, all of those things, and they're not the same. And that goes back to that silver bullet comment that Erich made. There isn't one. You know, you have to construct your own. And so therefore your skills need to be improved. And those 6 attributes will help you tremendously. We'll save the SOAR for another time, and SOAR is not pick it, it's let's take it to the next level.
Love that. Good wrap.
Thanks. Good one, Jim.
Great. Yeah, Jim, thank you so much. And thank everyone today for spending some time with us to give us some words of encouragement, to help us along our own journeys as we continue to shape our whatever organizations we're in, the broader strategy to be more CX inclusive. So with that, everyone have a happy Friday. If you're viewing this webinar in the future, enjoy whatever day it is, and we'll be sure to see you guys soon. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
All right. Thanks. Bye.